Be prepared because you're not tired. You're being called into the void. There's a silence rising that isn't just emotional, it's spiritual. A pulling away from the world, from others, even from your own thoughts. And it's not random, because the last 24 hours before this new moon are not ordinary time. They are a sacred vacuum, a cosmic stillness where every distraction becomes dangerous, and every inner whisper becomes a map. Have you been feeling overstimulated? Like everyone else's emotions are spilling into your body? Like your soul is asking for space, even if you don't know why? That's not resistance, it's instruction. Because what you allow into your field on June 26th will echo into your next cycle. And what you ignore in these final hours may delay the very shift you've been waiting for. This is not about isolation for comfort, it's isolation for alignment. To hear what can only be heard in silence. To feel what can only be received when everything else fades. The portal doesn't open with noise, it opens in the pause. And you're being asked to honor it now, before it's too late. You've been told the new moon is the beginning, but no one warned you about what comes right before it, about the space where the energy drops, the light disappears, and the soul goes silent. The final 24 hours before the new moon are not just quiet, they are sacred. This is the void, the spiritual 0 point, a place where nothing moves on the surface, but everything is rearranging beneath it. And if you've been feeling strange, disconnected, overly sensitive, emotionally raw, or even numb, you're not off track. You're stepping into the most delicate, powerful, energetic moment of the month. Because the day before the new moon is not part of the new cycle. It is the death of the old one. And death does not move loudly. It moves like fog, like stillness, like the whisper of something leaving before something else can arrive. This is why you might feel the need to pull away. Not because something's wrong with you, but because your soul knows what's happening. You're being peeled back, emptied out, prepared. And in this preparation, everything that is not you will rise to the surface. Old voices, old fears, old patterns, not to haunt you, but to ask one final question. Will you carry this into the next cycle? Or will you leave it here? Because the field doesn't lie during the void. It shows you what's still unhealed. It shows you what's still attached, and it will bring you face to face with the energies you've absorbed that never belonged to you in the first place. This is why the day before the new moon is not normal. Because normal rules do not apply. Time feels slower. People's energy feels louder. Your own mind might feel like a storm, or like it's gone completely blank. And the danger of this day is to pretend it's just another Tuesday, to distract yourself, to scroll, to stay connected to people who only pour noise into your nervous system. Because what you entertain during the void enters your field, and what enters your field now becomes the foundation of your next timeline. Can you feel that? Can you feel how easily the smallest choice this week carries more spiritual weight than usual? Because the universe isn't watching your words. It's watching your frequency. It's not asking for effort. It's asking for emptiness, for surrender, for reverence. Not because you need to perform, but because your next chapter is too big to be built on an overcrowded foundation. And so, June 26th is not about doing more. It's about doing less with intention. It's about choosing what to unplug from, what to silence, what to bless and release. It's about listening for the instruction that only comes when the world stops pulling on you. This is why you must isolate, not because you are broken, but because you are being rebuilt in the dark, in the quiet, in the sacred silence of your own becoming. And if you don't choose that silence, you might miss the message, because this moon is not coming with comfort, it's coming with consecration, and only those who are still enough to receive it will be able to carry what it brings. Why isolation is a spiritual activation. They taught you to fear isolation, to run from silence, to equate stillness with loneliness. But your soul, it remembers something different. It knows that every true awakening begins in absence, so not in presence, not in noise, not in comfort, but in the sacred retreat from everything you used to be. And this is what June 26 is truly about. It's not about hiding from the world. It's about separating from the interference, so the original signal can come through. Isolation, in this context, is not abandonment. It is activation. Because there are messages trying to reach you right now, but they can't pass through clutter. And the clutter isn't just physical. It's emotional, energetic. It's the conversations that don't mean anything, but still drain you. The scrolling that numbs instead of nourishes. The habit of checking your phone, your inbox, your social media, searching for a sign when the real sign is already inside you. This final day before the new moon is not like any other. The field is open, but it's fragile. And you are porous. Have you noticed how easily other people's moods are affecting you right now? How just one message, one comment, one bit of energy that doesn't belong to you can spiral your whole vibration? That's not hypersensitivity. That's your field alerting you. We're wide open. Be careful. Because in this final phase, what touches you stays with you. You are like soft earth before the seed is planted. Anything dropped into you now will grow roots. That includes doubt, that includes fear, that includes thoughts and projections that aren't yours. And this is why you're being called to isolate. Not forever, just now, just until you can remember what your own energy feels like again. Do you know what your voice sounds like beneath the noise? Can you hear the difference between your intuition and someone else's projection? Can you feel the space where your soul lives, untouched, unshaken? This is what the void invites you to return to. The untouched center, the clear channel. But the only way to get there is to step away from the need to be available, away from the obligation to respond, away from the desire to be understood. You don't need to be understood in this phase. You need to be aligned. And alignment is quiet. It doesn't ask for approval. It doesn't broadcast. It listens, it adjusts, it recalibrates in silence. And here's the paradox no one teaches. True connection comes after isolation, not before it. Because when you isolate intentionally, you give your soul the space to integrate everything it's been receiving. The dreams, the visions, the energetic upgrades, the subtle knowing that something big is coming. And you must be ready to hold it. You cannot hold what's next in a fragmented state. And fragmentation comes from leaking, from splitting your attention, from holding space for everyone but yourself. This is your reminder. Your energy is sacred. Your field is sovereign. and your boundaries are holy. So when the universe calls you into isolation, it's not because you are being punished. It's because something holy is being prepared inside you, and you need silence to hear it. This is why isolation is a spiritual activation, not avoidance. Because in the silence, your frequency sharpens, your channel clears, your breath deepens, and the next layer of your spiritual instruction becomes audible. You stop needing signs because you become the signal. You stop chasing clarity because it rises from within. You stop fearing the silence because you realize it was never empty. It was full of everything you needed to remember. So if people misunderstand you right now, let them. If you don't want to answer calls, messages, invitations, don't. If you feel like retreating into your own energetic cave, do it. Because isolation is not a breakdown. It's a sacred pause before the expansion. It's the womb before the rebirth, the pause before the leap, the breath before the voice returns, clearer than ever. And when the new moon finally opens, you will not be stepping into it from confusion, exhaustion, or need. You will be stepping in fully aligned because you honored the silence that preceded it. There are days when the energy is flexible, forgiving. Days when a little misalignment won't derail your path. But June 26 is not one of those days. Because this isn't just another turning point. It's a reset in your spiritual nervous system. A delicate unraveling of timelines, memories, and contracts that must happen in silence and purity. And the greatest threat to this process, energetic contamination. Not just from people, from everything you allow into your field. Because during the last day before the new moon, your aura becomes porous. Not weak, open, wide open. And anything that touches you now stays longer, sinks deeper, echoes louder. That offhand comment someone made, it might spiral into self-doubt that lingers for days. That news article you accidentally read, it might implant fear that contaminates your next decision. That conversation you had out of obligation, it might leave an energetic residue that delays your alignment. You're not crazy for feeling more sensitive right now. You're not dramatic for needing distance. You're being protective because your spirit knows this moment matters more than the world will ever understand. And what's at stake isn't small. What you allow into your field now will shape what comes next. This is the time where a single energetic leak can reroute the flow of a blessing. So what should you avoid? Avoid people who drain you just by existing in your space. If you walk away from someone feeling smaller, heavier, or confused, that's not love. That's interference. Avoid emotional entanglements disguised as checking in. That message from your past, that just wondering how you are, you know the vibration it carries. If it doesn't feel clean, don't open it. Don't respond. Don't engage. Avoid digital overload. Scrolling endlessly. Absorbing headlines. Consuming content that triggers your nervous system. Even spiritual content, if it leaves you anxious instead of aligned, is contamination. Avoid performing. You don't owe anyone productivity, presence, or perfection today. You owe yourself honesty. If your energy says rest, rest. If your soul says silence, obey. Avoid pretending you're okay just to maintain peace. Because faking peace is energetic distortion, and distortion now becomes magnetism later. Be honest with your own frequency, even if it's messy. Truth is always cleaner than performance. Because the void demands one thing above all: clean space. The new moon cannot plant a new pattern in crowded soil. It will not force itself into a contaminated field. It waits, it observes, it responds to your preparation. And your preparation begins with boundaries. Not reactive ones, but sacred ones. Boundaries that say, my frequency matters more than their comfort. My peace matters more than someone else's expectations. My future matters more than one difficult conversation. Because when you let in what doesn't match your truth, you delay what's trying to reach you. Energetic contamination isn't always loud. It's subtle. It hides in, it's not that bad. In just for a moment. In, I didn't want to be rude. But subtle contamination becomes spiritual blockage. And you cannot afford blockage now. Not here, not today. So what should you allow? Clean silence, intentional solitude, prayer, breath, gentle music, a soft candle, words spoken only if they come from the soul. Protect the temple of your frequency, as if your next timeline depends on it. Because it does, and if someone calls you distant, cold, detached, smile softly. Let them misunderstand. You're not avoiding them. You're answering the call of something higher. Because the ones who understand your silence now are the ones who will meet your vibration later. So cleanse, detach, cut cords that no longer serve, and prepare. You're not protecting yourself from the world. You're protecting the alignment that's trying to reach you. And if you hold that space, what comes next will not just surprise you, it will recognize you. There is a moment in every cycle where the light disappears completely. Not because you've failed, not because you're lost, but because something too sacred for words is beginning to form beneath the surface. That moment is now, and it's called the void. The void is not a punishment, it is a preparation, a womb of energy, where the old dissolves, the future pauses, and the present becomes still enough to let you hear what's real. Most people run from it. They rush to fill the silence, to fix the discomfort, to control the chaos that comes from not knowing what's next. But those who know the path, those who carry the frequency of soul contracts and divine timing, recognize this emptiness not as absence, but as invitation. You are being invited back into your original vibration, the one before fear, the one before craving, the one before you believed you had to earn clarity. In the void, there are no signs because there are no distractions. There are no messages because the message is silence itself. The void strips away your tools, your rituals, your comforts, not to harm you, but to reveal what was always underneath them. You. This is why it feels like nothing is happening. Because in the void, everything is happening beyond your awareness. Your timeline is rethreading. Your energy body is reorganizing. Your karmic residue is being burned away, not with noise, but with stillness, not with effort, but with surrender. You might feel detached from your desires right now, like you no longer care the way you used to. That's not a lack of passion. It's the recalibration of your will. Your soul is remembering that it doesn't need to chase what is already destined. And so, the hunger you once called longing is being replaced by knowing. Quiet, anchored, unstoppable knowing. You might feel like your prayers are floating unanswered, but in truth they are being answered in silence, in a language your mind doesn't speak, but your energy understands perfectly. Every breath you take in stillness is a vote for the future you've already asked for. Every moment of presence, no matter how empty it feels, is sacred alignment. You are not being asked to create in the void. You are being asked to be empty enough to receive. And in a world that values action, effort, output, being empty can feel wrong. But the feminine knows, the soul remembers. Emptiness is not a failure, and it is a portal. This is why the void comes before every rebirth, not after. Because the seed doesn't sprout in sunlight until it has first died in the soil, until it has been cracked open in complete darkness. And you, beloved, are that seed right now, not because you are broken, but because you are about to become something you can't yet imagine. The silence you feel is not rejection, it's alignment. The space between you and your twin, the stillness in your connection, the slowing down of signs or messages. None of it is a sign that the union is fading. It is the union resting, restructuring, pulling its roots deeper into the soil before it rises again. You are not alone in this phase. The masculine is feeling it too, even if he doesn't understand, even if he's resisting, even if it looks like distance. His soul is also touching the edge of this void, and something inside him is stirring, quietly, deeply, without words. But the only way for this energetic bridge to strengthen is through your surrender. Not your effort, not your worry, not your analysis. Only through your capacity to hold the space open without needing to fill it. The void doesn't require you to do more. It requires you to remember who you are when there's nothing left to prove. Who you are when you're not receiving confirmation. Who you are when you're not being mirrored, because that self, the one who stands steady in the dark, is the self who is ready for the next timeline. Let the stillness soften you. Let the discomfort melt your defenses. Let the quiet become your temple. This is not the end. This is the root. And if you can stay in the soil long enough, the bloom will come. Not because you forced it, but because you finally became the ground it needed to grow in. There is a moment just before something sacred arrives, where everything that no longer serves you begins to fall away, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once. That moment is now. The portal is about to open, and your field knows, your body knows. Even if your mind is still searching for reasons or patterns, something inside you has already begun the cleansing. This is not a forced release. It is a shedding, natural, uncontrollable, necessary. You may find yourself suddenly exhausted by things you used to tolerate. Words you used to say feel foreign now. Conversations that once comforted you now feel hollow. That's not mood. That's frequency. The vibration around you is no longer matching the vibration within you, because your soul has already moved ahead. And now the rest of you must catch up. Cleansing is not always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like turning your phone off for a few hours without explanation. Sometimes it looks like saying no without guilt. Sometimes it looks like crying over something you thought you were already done with, because the final layer was still resting inside you, waiting for permission to dissolve. The final cleansing before the portal opens is not for the faint-hearted, because it will ask you to let go of the stories that kept you safe, even the ones that once felt sacred. The idea that love must look a certain way, the belief that someone must come back for it to be real, the fear that if you stop holding on, you'll lose what you were meant to receive. All of it must go. Not because it's wrong, but because it's too heavy to carry through the next gate. You cannot enter a new timeline with an old energetic residue clinging to your field. That's why things feel so fragile right now. Why your body might feel extra sensitive, your breath a little shallow, your nervous system alert to the smallest disruption. It's not anxiety, it's calibration. It's your system rearranging itself for what's coming. Because this portal isn't small, and it doesn't accept clutter. Let yourself feel what needs to be felt. Let the grief rise without labeling it. Let the uncertainty move through without needing to fix it. This is the sacred purge. It's not about emotional control. It's about spiritual release. Every tear you allow now is an offering. Every breath you take in surrender is a prayer. Every choice to listen instead of react is a vow to yourself that you're ready. You don't have to do it perfectly. There is no perfect way to cleanse. There is only honesty. And honesty, in this moment, looks like presence. You may not be able to explain what's leaving, but you'll feel it. You'll feel the subtle loosening in your chest, the gentle shaking in your throat, the quiet invitation to sit with yourself, no matter how raw it feels. Don't try to make sense of it all. Not now. The wisdom will come after. But for now, your only task is to clear space. Because what's coming cannot land in a crowded mind. It cannot settle in a heart still echoing with old expectations. It cannot pour into a vessel that refuses to release what it's already outgrown. And so, this final cleansing is not a loss. It is a preparation for abundance. It is the clearing of a channel. It is the softening of the grip you had on things that were never meant to stay. It is the invitation to trust that what is being removed now is making room for what has been waiting to arrive. When the portal opens, it won't knock loudly. It will come like a breath, a shift, a knowing. And if your field is ready, if you have chosen clarity over control, you will feel it instantly. You will not need to chase. You will not need to prove. You will simply receive. So tonight, tomorrow, and in these final hours before the moon renews itself, ask yourself not what you want to manifest, but what you are still holding on to that no longer aligns with who you are becoming. Let that be your offering. Let that be your final act of faith. You are not clearing space because something is missing. You are clearing space because something has already been chosen for you, and it is on its way. There is a message already inside you. It has been waiting patiently, hidden beneath your thoughts, untouched by your worries, undisturbed by your plans. It doesn't shout. It doesn't repeat itself. It waits, was still, sacred, steady, for the moment when you become quiet enough to remember it was never far. This message cannot be found in signs, not this time. It will not come in the form of angel numbers or dreams or synchronicities flashing across your screen. It does not need to. because it was placed inside you before time, before trauma, before delay, before the world convinced you to question your knowing. And now, as the moon disappears and the final veil of this cycle thins, you are standing in the only space where that message can reach you again. Not through guidance, through sense, because only silence has the power to pull you past illusion. Only silence can lower the volume of the world enough for the soul to speak in its original language, vibration. This is the invitation of this moment. Not to seek, not to strive, but to stop, to breathe, to close your eyes and let the noise dissolve, layer by layer, until all that remains is you. And when it's just you, when the masks are down and the mind is quiet, that's when you'll hear it. The message, the knowing, the truth your heart has always whispered, but your mind never trusted fully. It doesn't sound like a sentence. It sounds like peace, like remembering, like a soft exhale. After holding your breath for years, you might hear it in a phrase, a symbol, a wave of emotion that makes no sense but touches you in a place no words ever could. And you will know, this is it. This is what the waiting was for. It may say, you are safe now, or you don't need to prove anything, or the reunion is real and you don't have to reach for it. Or maybe it won't say anything at all. Maybe it will just wrap around your body like light and remind you that you were never abandoned, that every silence was sacred, that every delay was divine. But you can't force this message to come. You can only make space for it. And that's what this final phase is asking. Not for effort, for reverence, not for action, for stillness. Because the most powerful truths in your journey are not spoken aloud. They are remembered, vibrated, embodied. The divine masculine may not speak this week. The world may stay quiet. The signs may pause. But that doesn't mean the guidance is gone. It means it has gone deeper. Beneath the surface, into the silence, into the breath between breaths. And if you want to hear what your soul is trying to say, you have to meet it there. This silence is not emptiness, it is echo. It is the sound of everything aligning. It is the preparation for the return, not just of your counterpart, but of your clarity, your truth, your own sacred frequency, free from noise, distortion, and doubt. You don't need anyone to validate what you feel. You don't need permission to trust your path. You only need the courage to listen and to believe what comes through. So sit with yourself. In candlelight, in moonlight, in stillness, place your hand on your heart. Let the questions fall away. Let the need for confirmation dissolve. And listen. Listen not with your ears, but with your energy. Listen with the part of you that always knew love was real, even before it showed up in form. The part of you that remembers what the mind has forgotten. The portal is opening now, not out there, in here. And if you are quiet enough to hear it, you will never be the same. This is the message, not the words, the silence that holds them, the presence that births them, the truth that rises when everything else fades. And now that you've heard it, even if only for a second, you will never unhear it again. Because what lives inside you now is not a hope, it is a knowing. And that knowing is your gateway to everything.